Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Content and Coaches, where we help coaches get clients through content. I'm your host, Zach Scholl, and I'm super excited to have today on so many words to describe him. He's a coach. He has his own app. He's written books. He's an agent himself. What other titles can we give you, Dan?
Well, I do public speaking as a piece of it, and but the big one is just coaching and speaking. And then everything else is just an offshoot of that for leverage.
Sure. So without further ado, we have Dan Wood here. He is we just described he's a coach. He helps you, he does one-to-one coaching. He has courses. He has books. He has an app to help keep you accountable. You can learn more about him by visiting danwood.ca or brokeragenation.com. And
Right.
Dan, you're a super interesting dude, and I'm really excited to have you on today. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here as well. So thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to talk about like your audience who's tuning into this is going to be probably other coaches and speakers that want to leverage and grow their business. So I'm super excited to share that story with you because what I've done can definitely be replicated, and I've certainly learned a lot over the years. I started in 2007 as a real estate agent, but then around 2012-ish, I switched to full-time coaching. But before that, there was a blurry line of like 2009 and 10. It was like, am I a real estate agent or am I a coach? Because I kind of did both. And but it was all organic, and my marketing budget is essentially $0. So I try to get paid to prospect, put it that way. That's why I love public speaking, because when you're paid as a speaker to go talk on stage, you get paid your hotel, your flight, so you're getting paid to be there, plus you're given an audience. There's like, here's an audience on a silver platter, and as long as you provide good value, then the rest comes naturally.
Yeah, speaking of providing value, I always like to get people's origin stories. I'm big into like movies and stuff and stories. I always like origin. So I would love for you to share with us the story you told me, how you kind of fell into coaching, so to speak, by providing value. And because you just mentioned how all this happened organically, and it really
Yeah.
did. So will you tell that story of how you really got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a real estate agent and I did pretty well at it to the point that people were wanting to hear the story and have me speak at their brokerages and at their year-end events. And so I saw that as an opportunity to, within my a 2-hour radius of where I lived, worked, and played, over the course of probably a year and a half or so, I did 300 talks, and I never charged for the talk. I didn't upsell any products during those talks, and I didn't even capture people's information. Like I wasn't enrolling or getting their names and emails. It was just truly me building an audience. And the reason I was doing that was just to get referrals, as like I'm the dude out in Oshawa. So I'm originally from Oshawa, Ontario. This is a motorhome, and I live on the road full time, and I just kind of chase the sun. So wherever the good weather is kind of where I hang out. But at the time, I wanted to be known as the Oshawa guy. So I was doing talks at brokerages from all different franchises, like Remax, Keller Williams is the main two that I focused on at the beginning. And when I would do a talk at one brokerage, I would double down and talk to the manager and say, look, you must have a network of other broker owner managers that are in need of more speakers. So would you be able to just give me a list of a couple of them and permission to give them a call? And every time they were willing to. And so I just kept rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And then 300 talks later, I was confused of, am I a coach now? Because every time I would talk, people in the audience would say, hey, that's great, but can you just do it for me? Or can you coach me on how to do it? And so that's when coaching became an option. I didn't even know that it was going to be. I happened to do a talk and it was a keynote, and there was another real estate coach that talked, and he was in the audience watching me, and he took all these notes, and he's the one that convinced me to start charging people and to actually be a coach. So he was like encouraging the competition, which I thought was pretty cool. And I owe all my whole coaching and charging for that as a business to this other guy, because I never even would have. I probably would have just kept doing the real estate referral game. And I'm glad. I like the lifestyle and the trajectory and the leverage that coaching has for sure. So yeah, that was the start of it. 300 talks with no goal of selling anything. It was just to like build name recognition. Speaking of which, I got a story behind this shirt. So when I actually did start doing keynote talks and getting paid, there was one time where I did 8 cities in 5 days, and there some like Canada, the US, like I was flying all over. And I remember I had this one suit that I wore all the time. It was like my favorite suit. And then I remember people would probably think like, man, that guy doesn't have any other clothing. He just wears the same suit. So I started this thing where I bought a bunch of Dan shirts, different colors. So this one's red. I have a blue one. I have a green, like a gray one, a black one, a turquoise one, and a purple one. And I don't even know what the other colors are. So it was easier for me to pack 8 shirts in a bag instead of 8 suits in a bag. And the reason for the different color is because I would reflect the color on the brand I was at. So if I was talking for Keller Williams, I'd be in my red shirt, but if I was talking for Remax, I'd be in my blue shirt. So I matched the branding of the shirt with the organization that I was with. But if I'm on stage and it's an audience of like 600 people or whatever, the people at the back of the room would still see my name. And then, therefore, when I'm walking through the crowd after the talk, people are just Dan, Dan, like shouting because they want to talk to me about whatever it was. So it's a cool little hack. Like you don't have to dress up in a suit if you don't want to. I was told at the very early days that I had to, and I was kind of ridiculed for not. And I'm glad I stuck to this because it made my travel life so much easier because I can do 8 city talk with like one luggage bag instead of 20 luggage bags because suits take up so much room lugging them things around. So it's a cool little hack that I did. And I know a couple of other people in the industry have followed suit where they just do the t-shirt with the branding of the color matching, and it works really good. It's a good little hack.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I admire about you the most too. Is you kind of follow, you make your own rules, and you kind of just do your thing, but you're always ahead of the curve, and like your mind for marketing is just awesome. So that's super, you know, to not wear suits just because you don't want to and you don't think you should, like why not? I feel like more people need to kind of live that way, you know, break the rules.
This branding worked out really good. So if I'm not normally I wear my purple shirt because purple is kind of like a neutral color um, for different reasons, and so that's like the shirt that I would normally wear. But yeah, I loved, and then I had the idea of just like matching the color with the brand I was with. Um, yeah, so.
And you know,
Speaking of marketing, by the way, speaking of marketing, when I was a kid, I was like a weirdo, and other kids would collect hockey cards and baseball cards, and they would have binders of it. I collected marketing. I would rip ads out of magazines, any toys that I got, if I liked the packaging and I liked the way they told the story and the art and the style. Like I love the storytelling of art and business. And so, anyways, I just, as a kid, that's what I collected. If I went to the dentist, I'd flip through the magazines, purposely not reading the articles. I was just looking for the ads and to see how did they tell the story and how could I use that. Like, even though it's like an ad for Nike or an ad for a heating and air conditioning company, like it doesn't matter what the company is. If I like the way they had a call to action or how they were using um, whatever, I would rip that out. And that's, I kept binders, like thick binders, like the big 3-inch binders. I had multiple multiple binders full
you
of
still have
ads.
those binders somewhere?
No, I don't. Well, sort of. I have one of all of my marketing. So if I ever printed notepads or printed posters or handouts, every time I got new business cards, I have a binder of all of my marketing that I've done. But I don't have the stuff when I was a kid. I don't know where that went.
So I'm curious, you know, what you think someone who might not be good at marketing, you know, I love marketing too. I study it, I bought courses, I spend my own time learning it. But not a lot of people have that skill. I think it's such a super valuable skill right below sales. But for someone who's not good at marketing or they want to get better, how would you say, you know, how can someone get better at marketing and learning how to market themselves? Because you're so good at it. I'm curious how you could teach, you know, what you advice you give to other people.
Thank you. There was a Canadian magazine called Marketing Magazine. They were really creative with the title on that one, and so that one, and then in the States, AdWorks. What the hell is it called? There's a magazine for advertising in the States. And I think that is a brilliant also for investing, because these magazines, what they do is they break down upcoming campaigns, and they would explain the campaign and break it down and the theory behind it, and the industry news of marketing, whether it be outdoor media like billboards and that sort of thing, radio, television, internet. And it was just like a way for me to keep, and this was me when I was a teenager, so I had subscriptions to both those magazines when I was in high school. That's the magazine that I got. And I definitely learned a lot from that. As far as creating things, I went to school for marketing and design, and I actually learned more by myself on the way. I took the GO train. It was the train to Toronto. So I would take the train every day, which was an hour, and every day I would do one tutorial. So say I was learning Adobe Illustrator and how to illustrate something, or Adobe Photoshop. If those were my classes that day, on the way into school, I just searched Adobe Illustrator tutorials, and every day I would do a different one. And it would show me things I didn't need to know, like how to draw a flower, for example. And they would do a step-by-step tutorial, and I would just follow along. And I did that not to be able to replicate me drawing flowers in the future, but the technique of that could be applied to other things. And so I actually wasted money going to school. Don't tell my parents that one, but I could have just done the YouTube tutorials every day, and got further ahead with the education.
So you would say that marketing is definitely like a skill you learn and develop.
Yeah, anything can be, right? I mean, I not people are naturally suited for some things over others, and for me, being creative is one of those things. Probably because I failed grade one, and I've been failing ever since. So I've always had to be creative with how I get things done, because I could never do it the standard way of how society would want me to learn, or how society would want me to work. I just had to be really creative with how I got things done. Yeah, and it was just me being okay with failing, and I was happy I failed grade one now, because it really showed me like you always have to fail forward. And I've been failing ever since, and it's like one of the best ways to get ahead.
It seems like that failing really kind of changed the trajectory of your life and kind of shifted you towards the life that you live now. Like I forgot to mention earlier how you're into RV and you're a rock star, you're driving around the country and you just kind of do everything on your own terms, which is like super admirable, you know?
I had an office. I was paying 1,200 a month for the office, and anyways, one day I used to pride myself on the grind. I would be the first in the office to unlock the doors and turn on all the lights, and I would be the last to leave. And it's because to me, building a business wasn't a grind; it was actually fun. It was a game, and I'd rather be doing that than watching TV and doing other things that aren't creative. So I always like being creative. Anyways, I was packing up, leaving the office one night, and I saw a baby robin in the parking lot, a bird. And there was a cat in the same parking lot. I'm like, oh, this guy's a goner. So I went and I got a Staples box, just like a file box, and I picked up the robin, put it in the box, took it home, and I've never gone back to an office since. So that summer, I ended up raising this bird, where every morning I would dig worms up at 6 in the morning and get the bird, and I would like show him getting worms and stuff in the morning. And then I would, he eventually became a wild bird that anybody, we named him Tony Robbins, and you could yell, Tony Robbins, and this wild robin lands on you thinking he's going to get fed, even the mailman and stuff. So I've never been back to the office since. And because I worked from home, going from that point forward, for a good 4 years, I pretended that I was living on the road, and I did all of my internet through my phone. I did everything remote, just to prove that I could. And then in 2017, we bought the motorhome, and we've been on the road since. I've never gone back. Yeah, basically every month move to a new city. We do 7 months in Canada and 5 in the States, and we just go back and forth like that. Yeah.
You're really like a digital nomad.
Yeah, I'm the definition of one. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I'm sure there's a lot of people who wish they could do that, and it really takes a lot of strength and courage to do that.
I guess. I mean, I was fine if it failed. I'd just sell it and go back home, I guess. Um, and yeah, the behind the story is I'm a runner and I run every day actually. And so, anyways, I'm doing a 5K race in every state and province in North America, and I'm halfway through that, coast to coast. Name a city, and the big cities I've probably done them. And anyways, at the end of the day, I'm going to bronze my running shoes into trophies, one for my mom and one for my dad, listing everywhere that I've stepped foot on the sole of the shoe. And I have a journal of all the races that I did. So I'm excited to one day be able to get that in their hands.
That's awesome, man. The way your mind works, just like, we don't know each other super well, but we've been acquaintances, and just the way your mind works is so fascinating to me to like think about that kind of stuff. I think I guess you're just constantly thinking and taking action.
Yeah, more thinking than action taken sometimes. But yes.
So the other thing that you're really big on too is technology.
Yeah.
You're up on QR codes. You have courses on Patreon. You have courses, all this other stuff. I'm curious what you think. What's like at the bare minimum for someone who's not involved with technology at all? What would be some technology you think coaches should implement into their business?
Everything has a cost these days. If I was to start from scratch, I'd say building and growing a database obviously is a big one. So I have a database of everybody that's attended one of my events. I have a list of anybody who's ever paid for anything. I have a list of anybody who's ever booked me as a speaker. So having different lists segmented is really smart. Um, that's the big one, is just building and growing your list, and doing things organically like that. 300 is a ridiculous number, but anyways, even if you could just do 50 talks, whatever your niche is, what everybody who's on this call, if they're a coach, they probably have a niche. Some of you are health related, some of you are industry specific, others you are like generalized and it's like life coaching or whatever. Anyways, guess what? There's a thing called YouTube and podcast, and you can find like a list of 100 channels that speak towards that niche. You just got to be proactive and contact them and say, hey, in the future, when you're booking a speaker as a guest, I would love to contribute to one of your future shows. And this is a list of the topics that we could cover. That would be an awesome first step. You either got to leverage your time or you got to leverage your money. So if I was to leverage my money, I would start with hiring cold callers to do those calls for me. And then I would go to pay per click on Google, because it makes so much sense on Google. Like if a person is going to Google to type in real estate coach, well, damn, okay, I probably want to be found on the first page and offer a free call. So like doing pay per click makes a lot of sense. But if you take how much did you spend on pay per click and how many leads did you get, I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be more when you do a cold caller. So I have a hack. I get cold callers through a website called Upwork, upwork.com. Upwork.com is a freelancing website, and you just pay the people per hour or per job. And so when you post your job on Upwork, you're going to get a ton of people applying saying that they can do it and that they're great. They are lying. They cannot do it because they have a ridiculously strong accent, and it's off-putting for a lot of people when they can't understand what you're saying. So there's a free tool that I use called SpeakPipe, SpeakPipe, and that allows people to send me a voice recording. So on Upwork, I'll post, I'm hiring 3 to 4 cold callers, and if you're going to apply, read this script and send it using this link. And I don't have to read their resume because their resume is BS anyways. Like, you think the referrals that they give me, Uncle Bob is going to give them a bad review? Of course not. I don't even going to even bother calling whoever they said to call. I'm just going to give 3 or 4 people a chance, and I got 4 cold callers. They each get 200 people to call, and I'll pay them for those calls. But at the end of the day, I'll be able to see who did the best conversions, who showed up on time, and who did I just like. And then going forward, that's the person that gets the rest of the list. So they all know that it's a contest. I do that strategy with everything. If I need to get a video editor, I'll hire 4 video editors all to edit the same project, but they all have their own ideas. and then one of them is going to stand out. I'm like, damn, okay, that's the winner. I still pay all four, but now I'm not stuck making the one work, because what ends up happening usually is you hire one person and then you're just trying to force that relationship and that person's quality of work to be at your standard. But if you hire multiple people, you just get it out of the way with and get rid of the duds, and you find the number one. So it's not just for cold calling. I use it for outsourcing pretty much any task. Like when I was at, when I do an event, this is the best way to get people's information in the room. So I'll be on stage, I'll do my talk, and then at the end of the talk, I'll tell everybody, look, I probably just fire hosed you with a lot of information, and I hopefully you were taking good notes. I actually pre-recorded this. So if anybody wants a copy of this recording and or to connect with me for any reason, I'm going to go stand at the back of the room, and as you leave, just hand me your business card. Dude, every time I get stacks, like most of the room, 80% of the room, every time I get it. So all the other speakers who are there that have their website on a slide, 5% of the people are actually doing it, whereas I'm getting stacks. So now that I got all these stacks, what I do is you can line up a business card is like, say it's this big, right? So if you line out, say 20 business cards, it takes up this much room. I take one photo and send it to an admin that I hire on Upwork, and then they manually enter them into my system to be tagged as attending that event, to get the video, and then to get a follow-up call from me. But I don't have to actually like enter all of that. I just have to take a picture of the cards. So when I'm at the airport, I do like 8 talks in 1 week or whatever. People are looking at me like some sort of maniac because I'm lining out cards, take a picture, throw them out, cards, take a picture, throw them out. And then outsourcing the things that you don't want to do, the things that are not your skill set, the things that are beneath your pay grade, the things that take your attention away from actually truly building and growing your business. Just get all that off your plate. You don't have to hire people full time. Oh, that was my first mistake. I hired a virtual assistant full time, 40 hours a week. It was awesome. She turned out to be great. By month 3, she finished everything that I had. So then it became a full-time job for me to keep her busy. So I started giving her things that weren't her strength. Like, oh, you got nothing else to do, edit this video. She wasn't a video editor. Why would I even think that I could get her to edit a video? So anyways, I would then be paying for her to learn how to edit video and to produce crappy work because she doesn't have the practice or the time invested. So instead now I just hire VAs that have one dedicated skill set. So I have one guy that only creates Google banner ads. I have another girl that only does ghostwriting for me. Oh, that's one. So I hired 5 ghostwriters, and I gave them all the same exercise. I gave them a YouTube video, a 1-hour lecture that I did. And I said, I want you to turn this into a story that I could publish in a magazine. I don't want you to transcribe this because I can do that myself. So I had 5 people watch the video and write what they thought would be an article that they could submit. And I paid, like, one girl was $5 an hour, one was 15, 20, 25, and 35. You would think that the $35 one is the best, but it wasn't. It was actually the $25 one. And she blew me away. Like, she was way better than me. And so then I gave her a whole bunch of videos, and I said, here, turn these videos into articles. And then I started getting content that I could leverage on my blog post. Social media could then come from those blog posts, and I could use those. And I started positioning it for industry trade magazines as articles for them as well. So it worked really good.
So yeah, you're really leveraging time, money, and technology. And that's like super important because I think you really nailed it. I don't think a lot of people realize, well, A, they don't really know about Upwork. You know, they think like you can't find good workers on there, but you can. And then,
Yep.
like you said, you need to outsource the small tasks that you don't need to be doing to someone else to free up your time for the big tasks.
Yep.
So what kind of team? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
The 4-Hour Workweek. It's a book by Timothy Ferriss. That book basically showed me the way of how to outsource and leverage not local full time, but more like piecemeal of like get a video editor. And if I don't have any videos that need editing, I'm not paying them. So it's per project. And it's a way better business model for me because one, it's a marketing write-off. I pay with my credit card to Upwork instead of me having all this red tape of employment. And in Canada, I would have to pay into like a pension and all this other stuff. I don't have to do that. It's all just a marketing write-off, and I get the points on my card. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and it frees up your time and lets you like travel multiple countries like a rock star.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious what you think. Like, what the technology is getting so crazy. You know, you have your app, which we'll talk about in a second. But
Yeah.
you know, years ago, it used to be so much harder to make apps, and you were telling me how easy it is now. And every day,
Mm.
technology just makes things easier. I'm curious. You know, what do you think the next 5, 10 years is going to be like as far as technology and like the next step for everything?
Oh, dude, that's such a broad question to answer. It depends on the industry. It depends on the person. Like when I first got into real estate, th- their training was to show me how to do a listing presentation, and they actually printed 2 pages and cut a photo out of one and used a glue stick and glued it onto the other. And I was blown away. I'm like, this is the training. Let me show you guys how to cut and paste within a computer and just print it once, and it looks cleaner, and you're not arts and crafts over here. And then like they were all using a map book to get around. So I showed them a thing called Google Maps. This was in 2007. So, anyways, technology in certain industries is like way, way far behind. And then technology with some people is way far behind. To me, the big one is video. There's so much leverage for you to use video. So like as an example, if I had a landing page for a person to register for an event, the moment we started using video on those landing pages, are in conversions increased. So obviously, if you want higher conversions on a landing page, use video. Then I looked at our follow up. So say in real estate, if I was a real estate agent and I get a person that fills in a find your dream home form, and they tell us where they're looking to buy, what city they're looking, blah blah blah. Well, there's a incubation period of time that you have to like connect and reconnect with that person before they actually buy a home. So we would set them up on a drip program. Well, I took a look at all of those emails that were going out, and I turned each one of those into a video. And it brings that know you, like you, trust you factor. So the video is just pure leverage. And plus, because you have video, well, you've got video. So now you can share it on social media and put it on YouTube and get found organically. From that video, you can strip out the audio and use that as sound bites for maybe a podcast or something of that nature. And because you have the audio stripped out, you can then transcribe that into written text, which then becomes a blog, right? So a video is a really good use of time, but people get really paralyzed with looking into a camera and talking naturally. So for me to get over that, what I do is now, well, I'll tell you the early stage. At the beginning, I would just get a piece of paper and I would write the bullet points. And then I would punch a hole in the paper and then put that paper over the camera. So it looks like I'm still looking into the lens, but I got the bullet points all around it. And it's just for me to keep on track of what the story is. Eventually, I got a little more sophisticated where I use a teleprompter. But the problem with the teleprompter is that normally that's in an environment where like a news anchor is behind a desk and the camera is 15, 20 feet away. When we do self filming, the camera is like, whatever, 4 feet away, right? And because it's a lot closer, the teleprompter, because you read left to right, it still picks up my eyes reading. And because I'm reading, I sound like a robot and unnatural. So now what I do is I still use the teleprompter, but it's not scrolling text. Instead, I position my iPad under that teleprompter and I just use a keynote presentation with pictures, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I'm just telling my story based on the pictures that are being reflected in the teleprompter, and my eyes are no longer looking left and right. And it sounds a lot more natural and candid because it's just a memory trigger to the story that I'm telling. It's not word for word some script that I'm reading. That was a big one for me because my name's Danny Wood, but I'm not from Hollywood, and I would fail at being an actor. I couldn't memorize a script, tell you that.
Yeah, I tell people to use bullet points, but I didn't pictures. That's a good one too. I didn't even think about that using
Yeah,
pictures.
the
Yeah.
teleprompter works amazing. Yeah.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time, and we're getting towards the end of the interview. But the last thing I really want to talk about, because I think it's super cool and innovative, is your app. So you have a
Yeah.
new app, which is like it's a mix of coaching and accountability, productivity. Like
Yeah.
there's all types of lists and all these types of apps, but they don't also include coaching. So let's tell us
Yes.
more about your app. Yeah.
Right. So I didn't know this, but there's two app stores. The public one where you and I download Facebook and Instagram, but then there's a private one for companies that provide apps to their employees. So that's where I have my app because it's not a cookie cutter universal one size fits all app for everybody. I actually custom make the app for the client. So every day it tracks whatever that person's goals are. So the girl I was with yesterday, she wants to track that she does one CMA a day to her database. The guy yesterday, he is tracking that he writes 300 words a day for his blog, for his video scripts, for his social media, for his email marketing. So 300 words a day is his like set standard. I have my own set standards. I track things like I'm in British Columbia and it rains a lot here. And so I have a minimum of if it's raining, I have to run I run regardless if it's raining. So if it's raining, I run 2 kilometers. If it's not raining, 2 kilometers. If it's not raining, I run 4. That's my minimum standard. That's like my baseline. I have to outreach to 5 people, whether it be maybe I'm going to start calling local boards of trade to offer doing speaking for like the general business in this local area. So that could be like an outreach program. I track that I hug my wife every day for 30 seconds. And it's so funny at the end of the night as I'm tracking, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't hug her yet and give her that hug. It means a big deal to her and me. And so I track that. I track that I stay away from my negatives. A negative for me could include caffeine. I really enjoy caffeine. Like coffee tastes great. It's warm and fuzzy. It's just like an immediate feel good thing. However, it's staining my cup. So if it's staining my cup, is it not staining my teeth? And it for some reason I really enjoy the buzz that it gives me. Like it almost makes me edgy, and I'm such a positive, cool, relaxed guy that uh, you, opposites attract, and I kind of lean into that edge. Like I kind of like the feeling. It's like, oh yeah, like primal type of thing, but it's not good. And then it also keeps me up at night. So then that interferes with one of the other things that I track, which is my power block from 8 a.m. to 12 in the afternoon. That's a 4 hour block. I am not allowed to do anything except for my productivity business building activities. And I actually log every hour what I do. I think it's so funny. Like before I became self employed, I worked for a sign company and we designed and installed all of the signage at the grocery stores across Ontario. And there's like 30 employees, and I made $16 an hour um, back in like early 2000s, which I guess is good these days back then. But anyways, the company had every employee a clipboard, and we would have to track every hour what we were doing and then submit that at the end of the week, and that's how we got paid. And I find it so funny how we're willing and open to not only like it was an average of 16-hour day. That was my day, 16-hour day, 16-hour day, 16. That was average. And it's so funny how willing I am to work for somebody else 16 hours a day and track what I'm doing every hour to get paid 16 bucks. But once I'm self-employed, I'm not accountable for my time and my hours and what I'm doing and how what I'm actually like, am I really being productive? Am I really doing the calls that I should be? So I track that every day in my app. And in the app, it resets. Every day is a new beginning. Every day is a fresh start. So the app is custom made for you, whatever your goals are. Maybe yours is to call and connect with 20 coaches, or I would keep it simple 5 coaches a day, 5 a day, 5 a day, 5 a day. That's your baseline standard. So, whatever the things are you want to track, it could be fitness, it could be health. Some people are tracking the time they spend reading or the time they spend doing yoga, walking the dog. Like, there's all sorts of things that a person would want to track. So there's also no such thing as accountability if you don't have an accountability partner. So every Wednesday in the app, I do a push notification. It goes out to everybody, and we do a live group call every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern. And I do it on the Wednesday because that allows Monday and Tuesday to be a screw up. Wednesday is your guardrail to keep you back on track. And then you finish strong Thursday, Friday. So every Wednesday is that check in. Are you true to your accountability? Are you true to your integrity and your word? And most of us tend to like slip up. So let's not just leave you in the mess. Let's fix you and go forward. So that happens every Wednesday. And the cool thing about the app is I have my own version of the app that I can pull up every client. So I can see all of the data of what you're tracking. So say your average is you want to call 5 coaches a day. That's your baseline standard. Well, I can see over the past week, 2 weeks, month that your real number is 2. You're only calling 2 a day because you've missed a whole bunch of days, right? So I can bring awareness to the fact that you're not on track to what your daily standard is. And so it's a way to help people almost be a robot. Like if you were a robot and could create the best life that you could, you would show up and do these things daily. Like if I was to create a brand new coaching company, the best idea for a coaching company is just hire a camera crew to follow that person from morning to night and film them. That person would just fake it till they make it. They'd be doing the calls and showing up because they got somebody like over their back looking at them and recording. So they want to look good. That would be the best coaching company, but it's not feasible. So to me, this is the next best step. I can see what the people are doing. At the end of the month, they actually get a live call. Every single person gets a 15-minute call, and I can show them the gaps of like, look, this is what your average should be, but this is where you're at. So either did you like take a vacation, or are you giving up, or like, are you just struggling with too much workload? Like, let's talk about that. So yeah, the app, I just put it up on the store on Thursday, and it's $100 a month for the app, and I got 20 people. By the end of today, I have another one. So I just got another one. So by the end of today, I'll have 20, and it's a good start. In one week, I got 20 people, $100 a month reoccurring, and yeah, it's all group leverage based on doing the group. I can get as many people on that group call as I want, and then the 15-minute call. I did the math. At the end of the day, when you add up 15 minutes, that's 4 people per hour, and it's like works out to like $400 an hour if you break it down that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just for individuals too. You can do it. You're working with teams and stuff too, right?
Oh yeah, there's so because I custom make the app for the individual, it can be branded for the individual. I don't do it for individuals, but I have a company in Calgary that they have 600 agents, and they want to pay for all 600 agents to be on it. So their version is going to be branded as that company. So it can be semi-branded as well. I'm really pumped about it, man. Like I believe, like right now, most of my income is from speaking, from the courses that I create, and I do done for you marketing where people are like, I can't do it. Can you just do it for me? So we do Google ads and Facebook ads for people. That's like been my business model for years. I believe if you talk to me in like 3 to 5 years, this accountability coaching thing is going to be my primary focus, because the conversations I'm having with people way more empowering than, oh, I just need leads, help me get a funnel going. That's a service that they need, and it's great, but it's not as rewarding as what I'm up to now. So I'm really pumped about the stories and direction.
So I know like people can't just go and find the app, but do you have a name for the app?
Yeah, just text me at on the screen here, 905-903-5442, and I'll share the story with anybody. I can give them a demo, so if they want to play with it. And I don't ask that they pay for a year or sign up for a year. I just ask that they stay committed for 3 months and try it for 3 months. If I can't help you out in 3 months, then you can cancel. So yeah, that's the best way, because I have to make it for you. I can't just give you an app, because you're not going to. Mine is to hug my wife for 30 seconds every day. Not everybody's going to want to track that. So
yeah, you don't want anyone else hugging your wife, so we have to.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I appreciate you taking out the time. I think the app's super cool, and I think that's pretty reasonable price, because you're getting, you get the individual call with you, but then you have the group calls, which are once a week. So it's really, and you have you, which is like, big brother watching. You can see, and you can say, hey, you didn't make your 5 calls today. Like, you can get them to make the calls.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I should have done this a long time ago. Really, I should have.
Well, how did you
Oh,
You know,
I'll tell you.
yeah, we
Yeah,
got to talk. Yeah, yeah.
an app company called me and said, "We're looking for a coach who has a niche and creates content." Most coaches do have a niche, like a real estate coach, a health coach, a fitness coach, like that's the niche. But most of them do not create content. So that's where I guess I stood out for this app company. And they wanted 7,000 upfront US. So I'm Canadian. So that's more like 10,000 Canadian. And so they wanted 7,000 up front, then they wanted more to continue, and then when it was all said and done, they wanted 50% of every sale, and they weren't going to do any marketing or anything, so I still had to do the marketing and everything behind it. So I'm like, "Whoa, that is no, too hefty. I don't no, not right now." So anyways, I loved what the idea and what I was up to, so I just piecemealed it together and created it. Yeah, I didn't create it, other people did, but um the idea and vision is easy to put together when you know what you want.
Yeah. What about the story you told me? How you have your regimented schedule. You write everything down. Like that's what I want people to know too. Is the story of like how your own life inspired you to make a kind of app in this system.
Oh, it's because I entered a dark phase in my career. 2020 hit. I was in LA. I was in Disney when Disney shut. Do you remember in 2020 when Disney shut because of COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the park. And so, anyways, I was in the park because that week I was supposed to be pitching a book idea to Children Miracle Network in LA. And then COVID hit and the hospitals got flooded. So I'm like, oh, terrible timing. So I didn't do it. So then I come back to Canada and everybody can't get a haircut. They can't go to restaurants. They can't do all these things. So I'm like, oh man, I can't really be pushing and promoting about like my cool lifestyle or the products that I'm offering. So I really stopped pushing and creating and growing. And I just relied on my reoccurring revenue, which is fine. It was a cool little vacation, but it ended up um, sucking the wind out of my sail because I was no longer pushing, waking up, trying, creating. After the first little vacation was over, then it kind of spiraled into things like sleeping in more, eating poorly, not exercising, not creating and growing, not contacting my database. I just like it really sucked a lot out. So the app was created to fix me. That was the story of it. Is just I knew I needed to get something different. So I just used pen and paper in a journal. And every day I would track from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. What did I do every hour? And then I would grade myself. Well, it turns out still a failure from grade one because I was giving myself like a straight D average. Maybe it's because my name's Dan. But anyways, I found it really hard from 8 to 5 to like every hour really be at it. I found like for 4 hours I could, but I weaned off after that. So that's why now my power block is just 8 to 12, and then the rest of the day is reactionary. So people can do that. You just got to keep a daily log of like every hour. I used to use an egg timer, and I would set it for 45 minutes. And during that time of it ticking down, I couldn't check Facebook. I couldn't check my email. I could only do whatever that one thing at a time, just one thing at a time. And I would journal it. And that really helped. But the app is just a way for me to allow people to do their journal from a distance so that they can get remote coaching. So, but the app was to fix me.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
curious when did the moment of the light go off in your head where you're like, oh, maybe I should turn this into an app? Like, did the app company reach out to you and it was just timing, or like, I'm
Yeah,
kind of
it
curious.
was. I
Yeah.
was already doing the daily journaling, and then they came to me during that time, and I'm like, "Yeah, I got an idea. This is what I'm up to." So that it was just perfect timing. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think you nailed it earlier too about accountability. How like we all try to be accountable for ourselves, but it doesn't work as well as when you have an accountability partner.
yeah, absolutely. And you don't see your blind spots because we've all got this fixed view of our past that helps shape our future. But because I coach people coast to coast in both countries, I see and hear other stories and tips and ideas and tactics that would apply to them. Like I'll give everybody two tips right now that's universal no matter who you are. One is that you should be drinking more water. But we're all told to get this big jug and drink it. It's every time I would do that, I would still have a bunch of water left and then it was like a chore for me to drink this thing. So my hack is half a cup a day, every single day. Whenever I shift gears. So I was about to go on this webinar or podcast or whatever this is with you, half a cup of water. When you stop recording and I turn off my camera, I want to do another half a cup of water. Then say I want to go get some food, half a cup of water. I'm about to start answering emails, half a cup of water. Whenever I shift from one thing I'm doing to another thing, half a cup. And that equals out to like 20 plus cups a day. So I'm getting way more water than I ever was. And it's not a force because a cup is this big. So I do a half cup. That's like 3 gulps. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't take time. Because if I did a whole cup, it's like trying to chug a cup of water. I don't know. For me, it just is boring. It tastes bland and it's cold and kind of hurts to chug, I guess, for me. So, anyways, half a cup, half a cup, half a cup. That tip is awesome. The other one is my 8 a.m. start time was a challenge for me to like consistently be starting and at it at 8 a.m. So now what I do is my phone is plugged in and charging in another room. So this is a motorhome, but I have 2 rooms in it. So behind this wall right here is an office, and my phone charges in that. So therefore, every morning when my alarm goes off, I actually have to get up out of bed, go down the hallway into another room to turn off the alarm. Well, I'm already like 10 steps out of my bed. So that's close. Sometimes I can have the urge to turn around and go back because I'm cold and tired and it's like comforting. So I made another commitment that every day at 8 a.m. I FaceTime my dad. So that's like a thing that now, once the FaceTime is done, it's like I'm up, I'm eating, I'm at it. So it's brilliant because I get to see and hear my dad every day. I get the accountability to get me out of the bed and rolling. And I've every day I haven't missed an 8 o'clock since I started that routine. So that's a hack that everybody should apply.
It's funny you mentioned water because I forgot you're not looking at me, but I have my gallon right here.
Damn, that is a jug. I
But
wasn't joking.
I think you make a good point about not, you know, like breaking it down, because I do have that. I try to drink more water, but I definitely noticed like what you said. You can have a little bit left and you're not really using all of it. So that's a good idea to break it down like that.
Yeah, it's like microdosing water. Works. It's
Right.
good.
Yeah. So
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say, as we wrap up, if anybody's a coach, I do real estate. That's primarily who I coach one-on-one, and all my products and things, except for the app. That's universal. That can be anybody. If you're in fitness, you want to make a change. If you're in health, you want to make a change. If you're in business, if you have a sales team and you're overlooking a sales team, the app could be a possibility for you. So anybody, that's really what I'm pushing right now. If anybody wants to chat about that, see a demo, or just like connect with me, text me. Say, I watched the coaches and content webinar with you, and text me that, and then I'll reply.
Yeah, just to reiterate, the app is for everyone.
Yep.
Any industry. It's for individuals. It's for teams. So if
Yep.
you're managing a team, this would probably be great for them as well. And you get the coaching calls with Dan.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
obviously, if you're listening to this, you know how smart Dan is. So that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on. So hopefully you'll come on again in a few months. Did you want to also plug? I know you have your website too. You have danwood.ca, but I guess
Yeah, the danwood.ca is just like a resume thing. I blocked my name. I don't even use it. I haven't updated that in years because a lot of my clients are in the US as well. And so having a .ca just throws them off. So my real website is brokeragenation.com. And that's the one that's geared towards the real estate industry because that's like 99% of who I'm serving right now.
Awesome. Well, guys, we'll have links in the description for this. I'll have Dan's number. You can text him. He's also on Facebook, so you can check him out on there. Dan, again, I really want to thank you for coming on. Hopefully some people sign up for your app. And hopefully we'll have you back in again soon in a couple of months.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. Bye.
All right, thanks, Dan.